The man had just stepped into the office when he found his boss dead. Afraid he would be mistaken for the killer, he bought a ticket that same night and fled toward Mexico. What he didn't know was that the police had already reviewed the surveillance footage and identified the real culprit. And strangely enough, the killer was escaping in the same direction. That's how the two crossed paths. The killer turned and saw the man staring in his direction. He panicked, slammed the gas, and sped away. But in truth, the man hadn't seen him at all. He was only looking at his own reflection in the car window. Then the killer heard a police alert on the radio. Suspect has stolen a black Jeep with flame decals. Citizens, please report immediately. Realizing he couldn't keep driving it, he ditched the Jeep and ran. Meanwhile, the man reclined his seat for a nap, but the driver shouted that they had arrived at the stop. It turned out the ticket seller had scammed him, traded his fake luxury watch for only a halfway ticket. The man got off the bus. He walked through the mountains all night. When thirsty, he picked wild berries. When hungry, he ate mushrooms. Unfortunately, the mushrooms were poisonous. As he worried about how to escape the country, he turned and spotted the abandoned Jeep. He reached in to hotwire it, but the key was still in the ignition. He drove into town and checked into a motel. The owner asked him to sign in. He hesitated for a long moment, then wrote down a ridiculous fake name. The owner grew suspicious. He glanced at the newspaper about the stolen Jeep, looked outside, and asked, "Is that your car?" The man nodded. "Yeah." The owner handed him the room key, then secretly called the police as soon as the man went upstairs. After a shower, the man casually glanced at the newspaper and instantly panicked. The car he had found that morning had already been in the news the night before. Furious, he slammed his head against the wall. Next door, the real killer heard the noise. Thinking he had been discovered, he grabbed his gun. And just then, the police really arrived. The man thought they were after him. He wrapped a towel around his head, pretended to dry his hair, and tried to sneak out. He almost made it, when the motel owner suddenly jumped out and pointed at him. Thinking fast, the man shouted something. The police ignored him. At that moment, the killer opened his door. He saw the man pointing at him and assumed he had been exposed. He opened fire, starting a shootout with the cops. The man ran, zigzagging wildly, thinking, how are they still missing me? The killer also managed to slip away. The man reached the train tracks just as a train passed. He leapt forward, flipped in midair, and clung onto a freight car. When the train finally stopped, he climbed inside. The killer saw everything. Now he was convinced. This man had to be a secret agent. He climbed a telephone pole and called his employer. Meanwhile, the man was starving. He found a car full of canned food and ate an entire crate. He got food poisoning and was rushed to the hospital. When he woke up, still terrified of being caught, he quickly changed clothes and tried to sneak away. But he didn't know. The killer had already disguised himself as a doctor and followed him. Just as the killer pulled out a knife, a police officer walked straight toward them. The man panicked again, grabbed a newspaper, and covered his face. But the officer didn't even glance at him. Instead, he looked at the killer and said, "Your wounded partner needs treatment." The killer had no choice. He entered the operating room and made sure a man who might have survived didn't. Then he quietly slipped away again. Meanwhile, the man, after running non-stop, finally found a water dispenser. He copied how others used it, poured himself a drink, and after quenching his thirst, he continued his escape.